Allison Baggerly is an author, podcast host, and founder of Inspired Budget. Her book, Money Made Easy, inspires readers to find a balance between enjoying their life and reaching their financial goals. Allison is a former teacher who, along with her husband, paid off over $111,000 of debt on 2 teacher salaries while growing their family. Since starting Inspired Budget in 2017, Allison has been able to retire as a teacher and take her desire to help others full time. Now, Allison is helping women all over the world get started with budgeting when they feel lost and overwhelmed. Her community turns to her for budgeting advice and inspiration to save more money than they ever imagined. She has classes on budgeting, saving money, paying off debt. Allison loves teaching others how to take back control of their money. Welcome, Allison.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk all about budgeting today.
Me too. And you have done so much. I love having former teachers here because we need to learn so much in the financial space. I love knowing that you paid off all of that debt on teacher salaries because for
hmm
so many women, they feel like their debt is insurmountable, but it really isn't, is it?
No, it's not, even though it feels that way. And it's okay for it to feel insurmountable. That was something that I remember when we realized we had so much debt. I remember feeling like I was standing at the bottom of a mountain with like a heavy backpack, and I needed to get to the top of the mountain. And I had this backpack weighing me down, and I didn't have a map. Like, there was no trail guide for me to get there. And that's what paying off debt is like. And even though it can feel insurmountable, with the right plan and the right steps, it doesn't have to be that way.
Well, today we're talking about taking back control of our money. And I was thinking about this. We have really given up a lot of control with our money, haven't we? Who is controlling our money?
Oh my goodness. I mean, marketers, debt collectors, right? It's almost like our past self made choices that weren't always thinking about our future selves. So maybe we signed up for a car payment that was a lot more than we realized we could manage. We took out too many student loans. We were impulsive with credit cards, or just aren't making as much money. And so we have different things that we are spending money on that we choose to spend money on, like subscriptions and I mean, just you name it, we're spending money on it. And then we also have things that we chose in the past to spend money on, and we are still paying it off. And so, even though a lot of people I work with make decent money, and when I say decent money, they're making $100,000 a year or combined around that much or more, less, give or take, they don't feel like they make decent money. They don't feel like there's anything left at the end of the month.
And they don't feel like they really have choices. Yes,
Mhm.
like you said, we choose to do the subscription or whatever, but they feel like their life is being controlled by their debts, by their employer who's maybe not paying them fairly in their minds or things like that, right?
Exactly. Yes. And the thing is we can only control so much, right? We can control how much money we're making. We do have to make choices, either ask for a raise, find a job that pays better, or take on some side hustles. But I don't know about you, like I don't want a part-time job. Like I have a family. I don't want to be spending my time doing that. So I like to look at what else can we control outside of the income side of things. What else can we control? And that is our spending. And we can control that and try to take back control with a budget.
Well, when it comes to budgets, you are one of the best people to follow and to listen to. I know you have a fabulous budgeting spreadsheet that is better than almost anything I've seen out there. But here's the thing, as everyone's talking about budgeting, and I think that we know, yeah, it's really important to manage our money well, and budgeting is probably the start of that. But I think the word budget tends to bring up a lot of feelings of anxiety, shame, especially for women.
Oh my goodness. Yes. It's because we see a budget as a consequence of either not being good with money or making poor choices with money. Some people even think, I don't even make enough money to budget. And so I think it's important to try to remove our feelings around budgeting. Just let's let go of those and let's look at the facts. The fact is, budget is a plan. Just like you go into Google Maps or Waze when you are driving from point A to point B, you pull up a plan for your destination, for your driving. We're going to be doing the same thing with our money. And that's all a budget is. So I think when we can try to frame it like that, we can let go of that guilt or that shame or that frustration with the B word, the budget.
I will tell you, in a lot of my interviews lately, we have been talking about mindset and reframing your thinking, changing the messages you send to yourself. And I'm just such a believer that, as woo woo as it might sound to some people, that mindset is so important.
Yes, it really is because who wants to work on something and spend time doing something that they have a negative thought about? Right? Like if I think, "Oh my gosh, budgeting is so frustrating. I'm not good at it. I don't know how to do it. It means that I can't spend money on what I want." Now I need to sit down and go work on my budget because I know I need one and everyone says so. Well, who wants to spend time doing that? I would find a million other things to do instead. So, reframing your mindset around it and seeing it as something that will allow you to reach your money goals, something that will help you in your life, then you look forward to sitting down and working on it. And that's exactly how it was for me. I used to hate it. And I said, once we became debt free, I'll never write a budget again. But during the process, I realized, oh my gosh, budgeting isn't the enemy here, right? It's not. It's actually helping me live a life that I want to live.
I think people get ready to do a budget and they go through a big process. Let's figure out how we're going to spend our money each month. And then they never look at their budget again, right? Isn't that
Mhm.
common? Because that's what I see.
Yes. Yes, it's very common. And really, like, I want people to walk away with actionable steps here. So I'm going to give you three things, right? Three big things to consider when writing a budget. And one of them is to understand where your money is going. And we only know how to do that when we can look back and see our patterns of spending. However, when we make a budget and then we say, okay, this is what it's going to be. I'm going to spend this much money on groceries, this much on restaurants, this much on gas for my car. And we can make this beautiful plan and it works perfectly and then put it away in a folder, put it away in a Google Drive or Excel spreadsheet. If we never look at it again, we're never comparing what we actually spent to what we said we were going to spend. And this is something that I have to do often, especially with variable expenses. Tracy, let me give you an example. My husband switched jobs about 2 years ago and it cut his commute down from about 47 miles to 4 miles, and which
Ooh,
I know, which is wonderful for our family, which meant that the amount we were spending on gas drastically changed. If I were to continue budgeting based off of what we were spending before, then it wouldn't work with my new budget. So instead, I would start looking at, okay, how much money are we spending on gas in a 2-week period? And I would make adjustments, but I'm only able to make adjustments and write a budget that's realistic because I'm looking back at our spending. I do the same thing with groceries, with restaurants. It allows me to, when I understand where my money is going, it allows me to write a budget that works and one that I'm not going to just throw in the trash.
right. So we can't pretend the past never happened. The past
Mhm.
really informs us about what's been going on with our money, what we tend to do. Like the clients that I work with, if I were to ask them, how much money do you spend on eating out every month? I think everyone would wildly underestimate how much they spend on eating out. They would forget that they DoorDash once in a while or that, they go through a drive through a couple of times a week or something like that. So I love step number 1, knowing where your money
Yes.
is going, but also then paying attention to, okay, if something changes in our situation now, we need to make an adjustment in that budget, right?
Exactly. And that's okay. Your budget is not going to look the same. I'm a big believer that a budget is a flexible, living, breathing document, meaning as my my life changes, as different things come up, my budget needs to reflect that. There are some months of the year where we have more holidays or more birthday celebrations. that means that more of my money than I normally send to gifts and celebrating those special occasions, it's going to be more that month, which means I might need to cut back in other areas. Or when we have those celebrations, my restaurant's budget might be a lot higher. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as I can look at my budget and move money around, as long as I'm still intentional with my goals, I'm investing, or if you're wanting to pay off debt, you're still paying off debt, we're not going in the negative each month, then it's okay.
Okay, so I love this idea of making this whole budgeting and money management process feel more manageable. So I love your 3 steps. What is your second step to taking back control of your money?
Of course. So, my second step is to be proactive with your money, not reactive. Let me explain what that means. There have been times in my life whenever I was very much caught off guard by different things. The first time my husband and I I think it was when we were married. You know what really caught us off guard? And I don't know why. Christmas gifts. Now that we're a married couple, we were expected to spend money not only on each other, but together as, on our parents and siblings and all of that. And maybe we were doing that before, but now combined, it's even more so. And December came around and I felt like I was very reactive. We didn't have money in savings for Christmas. We hadn't thought about it. And every time I thought about it, it brought me stress. It frustrated me. I was angry with myself. I was angry with where I found myself, and I was very reactive with money. Instead, what I recommend is being proactive, meaning try to see things in advance as much as we can. I mean, there's going to be unexpected expenses that pop up, but for the most part, we can kind of foreshadow or foresee things that might need to be included in our budget, such as special occasions. So make sure to think through those things before you write a budget, because when you forget them and you've already written your budget, then the mindset we start taking ourselves in, this kind of like cycle, is I wrote a budget, it doesn't work, I'm bad at budgeting. And we want to get out of that cycle. So here's what I recommend. When you do sit down to write a budget from the day you are paid until the day you are paid again. So, at the time of this recording, my husband was actually paid today. So, today is payday, which means my budget starts today. I already worked on it this morning, and it will end the day before we are paid again. And and this morning, really, I sat down and I made a plan for all of that money. I'm very proactive with where that money is going so that in the next 2 weeks, I don't have to be reactive when things happen and I kind of like use money to put out little fires.
Okay, Allison, I have to be honest with you.
Okay.
The thought of having to sit down every couple of weeks and do a budget, that sounds like a massive time investment.
Oh my goodness, it is not. I'm so glad you said that because I can see why people would think that. And honestly, at the beginning, it's going to take you longer you than you want. But as we are learning something new, I mean, as we are discovering our own spending habits, that takes time. It takes time when you're in a relationship with someone, it takes time to really get to know them, to go deeper in conversation. The same is true when it comes to you and your spending and your money. But now for me, I know my spending so well. I'm aware of it. I know when I tend to overspend. I can look at my calendar very quickly and get a good idea of what I have coming up and what I need to include. And so it might take me, I kid you not, 10 minutes. 10 minutes
Wow.
tops. And then I'm the details person. I will check in with my partner and we will look at it together, make sure I'm not missing anything. And then I usually do like a quick 2-minute money check in every morning. It's like in my morning routine to just update my spending log and make sure that I don't need to change anything in my budget.
Well, I'm not gonna lie to you. I do look at my bank account every single morning and my credit cards every single morning online because I want to make sure that there weren't any charges or anything
Mhm.
that went through that I wasn't expecting, that there wasn't any fraud or anything like that. And it only takes me a couple of minutes. And so I feel that that is what you're talking about doing is really manageable,
Oh,
especially
yes.
since I'm already used to doing something like that anyway.
Exactly, and that's essentially what I do. I sit down, I will write my budget in advance, so I have my budget already written for today, for basically the next 2 weeks starting today. Every morning I sit down for like 5 minutes, doesn't even take me more than 5 minutes. I don't do it on the weekend, right? Like, it's kind of just in my work routine. I open up my bank account, I log my transactions in my spreadsheet, I look and see, "Ooh, how are we doing?" We budgeted 200 $400 for 2 weeks of groceries. I've already spent $300 and I have 1 week to go. Is that realistic? If not, let me see if I can kind of move my budget categories around to maybe take money out of restaurants and put into groceries. Or I need to get creative about what we have in the house. So doing these things just allows me to honestly just feel in control and not feel like money is controlling me.
Okay, do you ever get those weeks talking about groceries where you say, you know what, I'm going to take the grocery budget way, way, way down as skinny as possible, and we're going to start like using up some things that are in the freezer and the pantry?
Yes. So the way I personally budget is we do 2 weeks at a time, and that's all based off of how we are paid. So there are times whenever the first week we might spend more, and then I'm like, "Oh, we normally spend about like $200 a week for our family of 4." And honestly, it's usually a little bit less than that. I kind of give us some wiggle room. But if we've spent a majority of it already, then we might have only $120 left. So then I'm like, oh, our meal plan. Let's go look at the freezer. Let's look at the pantry. Let's get creative. Like, we're not going to be stocking up on snacks. We're going to eat the snacks we have, things like that. And really, like, I don't see it as a sacrifice. I see it as just a 1 week adjustment. We're just adjusting for 1 week. It's 100% temporary. It is not permanent.
But it's also smart to use up the snacks you have and to use up what you have in the
Yes.
freezer. I mean, we bought it so we can eat it. So let's make sure we're eating the stuff we've already paid for.
Exactly, and it's nice because then I feel like when my grocery budget is on track and I do spend less, I'm, like, proud of myself. I'm, like, giving myself a little pat on the back, like, "Way to go, you did a great job." Like, it also makes me feel good to know that I'm on track.
Okay, what is your third step in this three-step process to taking back control of your money?
Yes. So my third step, ironically, we've really been discussing it, is to check in with your budget often. Whenever I was first budgeting, my mindset was I'm going to sit down in this painful process. I'm going to write a budget. And then when the next month comes, I'll write a budget again. And truly, while that's great in theory and I was proud of myself for writing a budget. I only did half of the work, right? Because it's one thing to just write it down and say, this is what it's going to be. But if you never go back and look at it and check in on it often, then you might as well not be doing it at all, right? You're only doing half of the work there. So check in with your budget often. There are times whenever life throws us a curveball and something happens, an unexpected expense happens. Instead of saying, oh, can't can't deal with this, like, I can't budget anymore. Instead of saying that and just kind of, like, going rogue, because that's what I'll do if things I used to have a tendency where if we were hit with an unexpected expense, I would say, "Budget's called off," like, and then there was, like, binge spending, like,
Yeah.
nothing's off the table now, right? Like, everything's on limits. I'm gonna do whatever I can in the next 7 days until we're paid again. I'll spend whatever, and that made me feel bad. I didn't like that. I felt out of control. So instead, what I recommend doing is when life happens and something goes wrong with your budget and you're checking in and you're seeing like, wow, we spent way more on gas or my vehicle registration needed to be renewed and I completely forgot about it and it's going to cost an extra $150 or whatever. Instead of saying budget's done, what I like to do is write a mini budget, meaning it's kind of like starting fresh, right? We hit pause, we say, okay, things didn't go as planned. So instead of just throwing it away and saying this isn't working, let's start and write a budget from now, today, until payday. And that first budget we wrote, like it was good in theory, but we need some control just for the next 5 to 7 days, or maybe it's the next 4 days. If I have $300 left in my account and I have 5 days until payday, I want to think through every single day. Do I need to buy groceries? Is there a bill coming out? What do I have gas in my car? Where is this $300 going to go so that I don't just spend it on who knows what and it has a purpose. And so I call that a mini budget. Like it's like a small miniature budget that lasts you from today until payday.
When we're checking in on our budget and seeing where we are compared to where we thought we were gonna be, this is not about shaming ourselves or
Mm-mm.
punishing ourselves, right? If things went sideways, it's about gathering information so we know where we are and we can make adjustments and deal with whatever the reality is, right?
Exactly. And that's the thing is money is emotional and it's really hard to remove the emotions from money. But when we're looking at this, I want you to just look at it like data, just like stats, right? Just numbers. And we're looking at the facts of the situation and we're saying these are the facts, right? We're not going to get into necessarily the emotions behind the facts, but these are the facts. What am I going to do with these facts? Right? You have a couple of options. You could ignore them, which is what I did for years. You could say, I don't like these facts and put everything on a credit card and say, I'll deal with this later, which some people do that. Or we can say, okay, these are the facts I have. Let me put some boundaries, a plan in place to take what facts I have and do the best I can with them until my next budget starts over.
Whew. Budgeting can seem intimidating, but I will tell you, the more you work on it, I know this from experience, you can get better at it and it can be such a wonderful tool to take control of your money as we're talking about it. I mean, this is not just theory, is it? This is reality.
Exactly, and I'm honestly, like, if anyone's watching and they've said, "I've tried budgeting before," or, "I'm new to it, but I'm nervous," please just try it. There's literally nothing to lose here. All you have is something to gain from just
Right.
trying it out, and don't just try it once. Commit to writing a budget at least 3 times in the same way for you to learn the skill of budgeting because it truly is a skill. So, I hope this has encouraged people to either revisit budgeting if you've tried it before or start budgeting, if you've never done so.
Well, tell everyone about the free cheat sheet that you have available for them.
Of course, I have a budget and debt payoff cheat sheet that is available. It walks you through how to budget, how to save money, how to really like write a budget when you have multiple goals in mind. And it's a great resource. I wrote it myself. I'm a teacher, so there's even examples and everything. So I'd love for you to grab that. And my hope is that it is something that is actionable that you can sit down with and actually put into practice, because it's one thing for me to inspire people, right? That's the other part of my business is Inspired Budget. I want to inspire people, but I don't want to just inspire them and them say, "Well, what do I do from here?" Like I want to do something, but I don't know. No, I want to give you actionable steps, and so you can find those in the cheat sheet.
I am all about action, and we are going to link to the cheat sheet and to your website, Inspired Budget, in the show notes. Allison, it is always fun talking with you. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.